Hi, friends. My name is Kenton Whitman, and together with my family, we aim to share wilderness skills, mindfulness practices, wild edible plants, family adventures, and skills that break you free from the limits of civilized life. Join us by subscribing to our channel and joining our YouTube family. Hello, my friends. If you would be talking to my family right now, they would tell you that about a month ago, I had kind of a level up. And this is a spiritual leveling up or an emotional leveling up or something. And it's something I've wanted to talk about. But like many of these things, it's very subtle. The effects of it, I think, in my life and my family's life have been pretty graphic. But trying to explain what happened is difficult at best. And I was trying to explain it to a friend, and I have a superficial way that I can explain it. But there's a deeper level to it that I'll also try to touch on. So, the superficial level is that I just woke up one morning, and I don't know if this was a result of regular meditation practice we've been doing, or just, over the years, things shift and change as we all continue on our personal journeys. And I woke up that morning and suddenly I could focus in a way that I hadn't been able to before. And what I'm talking about is my mental activity. So if my mind said, "Oh, Kenton, look at that. That's a real problem." And it was one of those things, we all know about these, that our negative mind just likes to look at and sort of dwell on and mull over. Rumination is the kind of official term for this. And it's not like we're solving the problem. We're just looking at it and ruminating on it. When my mind wanted to look at that and focus on that rumination, I found that it was very easy just to take my mind and move it over to looking at Rebecca and appreciating some things that I appreciate about her. I found that every kind of, quote, negative thought that my mind wanted to move towards, it would still go over and say, "Hey, this is important. Look at this. Let's ruminate on this." And I found it easier than ever. Again, it was a huge, just kind of paradigm shift. I don't know how to explain it. Leveling up, where before I would have to really concentrate on moving my focus, but now I could just easily shift my focus over onto whatever this more positive thing was. And this isn't just about positive thinking, it's about what's worthy of our attention. Here's my daughter who's trying to show me something that she has drawn. And here's some rumination thought over here about, well, what if this and what if this? Oh, what about this? Which one is more worthy of my attention? To me, that's a pretty obvious, very obvious answer. That's my daughter's drawing. And that's where my attention should go. But we all know that pull of the rumination, of the negative mind to go look at this. So suddenly I could focus. I could direct my focus. And I've spoken, of course, about this in videos, but it had always been an effort before. And now it was effortless. The important part here, before I try to get to that subtle part, the important part is to recognize that sometimes our progress in this mental emotional realm is slower or more difficult to perceive. So if I'm going to, let's say, try to lose weight, or I'm going to try to bulk up and put on a little muscle, I can take measurements that seem pretty objective, and I can say, oh, okay, I added a millimeter to my bicep. I've got some progress. I've lost X amount of pounds. I've got some progress. I can see that in a way that it's more difficult to see the mental, emotional progress. I use this example of this book, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, that my mom always had sitting on her bookshelf, and I would take it out even as a kid, and I'd read through these koans and these Zen stories. And some of them made sense, some of them made no sense at all, and some kind of maybe made some sense. But I'd pick up that book maybe once a year and I'd read through it. And I found that those stories change their meanings all the time. And there would be new revelations waiting. Even if I had fully understood a story before, I would now understand it in a very different way. So in that way, I think of a simple concept of being present moment. And I would say that 10 years ago, I felt that I had really come to understand that and that I was pretty present moment. 5 years ago, I would look back at that 10-year ago self and I would say, gosh, no, I guess I really wasn't present moment 10 years ago, but I really feel present moment now. And a year after that, I would look back at the 5 and I would, again, have that observation that the place where I thought I had understood a concept or I had come to bring it into my life, it wasn't really there. I hadn't really grasped it or integrated it in the way that I thought I had when I was there. And that stands today. So I know that 2 months ago, I thought I had pretty good ability to move my focus where I wanted it. And then I had that morning, that revelation, that level up. And suddenly I saw that, no, I didn't really have much of an ability to put my focus where I wanted it, at least compared to where I am now. And I know that now I feel like it's effortless for me to put my focus where I want, but this is just another step in the journey. I will look back probably in a year or 2 years or 5 years and say, oh, Catton, no, you really didn't have much of an ability to focus back then, at least compared to where you are now. So these mental emotional shifts, they are subtle and slow often, even though they can have big leaps forward, like I had that morning when suddenly, boom, there was this shift. That was a kind of a graphic one that I could feel tangibly the difference from the day before. But often it can be frustrating. I'm meditating all the time. I'm watching these videos. I'm trying to make these big pieces of progress in my life. But I don't feel any different than I did yesterday. And that's why it's important to remember that this progress is it's evolutionary. It's slow, but it's powerful when we're on this path. It makes real changes that I think probably if any of you look back a couple of years, you might find, wow, if I've been on this path, there's a big difference from where I was 2, 3, 5 years ago. But I don't see that difference on a usually in a graphic, day to day or measurable kind of way. And it's important for that little part of our mind that wants to see progress to look back and acknowledge this, I think. Because otherwise we can forget how important this part of our journey is. And to me, I love movement, physicality, good food, everything else. But this is the top of the heap of what makes me happy, what I think makes me a better person, helps me to contribute to my community, the people around me, is this mental emotional growth. And it's kind of fun to also recognize that where you are especially when we think we're kind of somewhere big, that there's a lot of growth yet to happen. That keeps us in student mind, keeps us learning and growing. Because what can happen, and this has happened to me numerous times in my life, especially many years ago when I kind of started on my journey, I noticed I was in a big shifted place. And I would think, wow, I'm enlightened. I've got this down. I'm done. And I could think then of myself as a master, of having figured it out. And that stops the growth. What happens then is I just create kind of a new form of crystallized ego around myself, and I can't see outside of that anymore for any further growth. And this can happen to people, often when we become a teacher. That's when I call it putting on our robes, put on our guru robes, and consider ourselves a master, consider ourselves enlightened. And that's kind of when the growth stops. So even if we're sharing with others or teaching others, it's really important that we continue on our evolutionary path. One last thing about that shift of focus. This is, again, part of the subtle part that I'm trying to put into words. And I find that as I do this, I've found a way to frame it in my mind that makes logical sense. So I'll be able to explain it. But I'm still missing that deeper part that I want to share with you. If I come to a better understanding of this along the way, I will of course share it with you on another video. But what happened is it moved from making a mental effort of having my focus being pulled over here, and then I just would mentally will it over to this new place, to having a certain playfulness about it. Playfulness, ease, not trying to force. That really changed it over. And as you can see, I'm kind of struggling again here to try to put this into some kind of a frame that words can explain. Playfulness is the best one I can think of right now. But when there was a heavy weight of this is what I should be doing with my mind, I shouldn't have it on this rumination, I should have it on my daughter's drawing, there was kind of a will effort that happened every time I tried to do that. And now it shifted to, this is just more fun over here. This is more playful. This kind of playful otter or fox energy of just, why? Yeah. And in that shift, taking the weight off of it, instead of thinking this is what I should be thinking about, kind of thinking what's going to be more fun to engage with. And that, I think, was a big part of the shift for me. Hopefully you find that helpful in some way. So, well, share in the comments your thoughts about this and where you are in your ability to focus your mind and what you have found helpful. Again, I don't really have a certain thing that brought me to this place, and I realized it'd be a lot nicer if I could tell you here's the recipe, but I think it had to do with a heightened meditative practice, and it had to do with just developing more of a playfulness overall in my life. All right, my friends, love to you all, and we'll talk with you down in the comments.